Hello everyone, this is Dozer, and in this tutorial I'm going to go over the rough draft session for one of my songs I recently recorded called Club on Fire. However, it's spelled F-I-Y-A because, you know, you want to be cool and everything, so you say Fiya. So that's what it's going to be going over. Now, though this tutorial is mainly geared towards those who have ordered the CD, because I have a tutorial CD available, there will be a link in the description that goes over every session that you see here, every single one of these. It goes over each one step by step for each version that I make when I created the song. Because I don't just record it all in one session. First I come up with the idea for the track, and then throughout the time of making the track, I have to come up with, let's say when I'm going to do my editing, I create a new version. Once I'm done with my editing and I'm going to start my mixing, I have a new version. So I can always go back in time and I can do more adjustments if I need to later on. Now, I'm putting this on YouTube because I do not want to waste valuable space on my CD with this kind of stuff. This is kind of stuff that is real simple, and I've gone over this kind of stuff before. If you haven't watched my free real-time auto-tune tutorial on how to get effects in real time, such as auto-tune, you're going to want to go watch that. I have a free downloadable tutorial. If you go look for my video called Free Real-Time Auto-Tune Tutorial, there's actually a download link for that full tutorial. Also, if you don't know what a bus or a send is, or how to create tracks and all that kind of stuff, if you go to my DVD homepage, I'll leave a link in the description. I have a free tutorial called Multi-Track Recording that goes over various programs such as Sonar, Cubase, and Adobe Audition, and it shows you how to set up sends, how to set up buses, all that kind of stuff. So over here you can see the various versions I created throughout the process of recording this track and mixing and mastering and all that stuff. But the one that we are going to analyze is this Club on Fire Rough, so I'm going to go ahead and open that. And you'll notice that as it opens it says Autotune EFX.64. That's because I am using the 64-bit application and I have the program, the actual plugins JBridged, so you would need like JBridge in order to do that unless you have a 64-bit version of the plugin, which I do not. And here's another quick note is that this may be boring for some of you because some of you already know all this stuff. I just need to get this stuff out there so that other people who are not on the same level as us, you know, because we're fucking geniuses, that they can be on the same level, okay? Because some people don't know about this stuff. So if you find this boring and you already know about it, you're probably not going to benefit from this tutorial. However, there are a couple ideas I'm going to throw out there that you may benefit from because I myself also like to hear how other people work. So this is the rough draft session, and what I'm going to do right quick is I'm basically going to select all these tracks and I'm going to remove them. And this is how I would start. However, the first thing you always need to do, once you find the instrumental, you go online, you're like, you know what, this is the instrumental I want to use. Well, you need to know the tempo of the instrumental because it's the first thing you always want to do is you want to know the tempo and the key of your instrumental. Because you need to be able to set your tempo inside your DAW. And a DAW is basically your digital audio workstation. In this case, it's Studio One. Now, those Studio One and other programs do have ways to detect tempo. I just do it real simple. I just throw it inside of my Mixmeister program here. And once you throw it in this little window, you just drag your MP3 file or whatever in here. Club on Fire tagged. It says WHP beats, 97.5 BPM, and it tells me the key. Now, the key is not always going to be correct, but it gets it accurate most of the time. And then it gives you a key code, this 4A. Now, I'm just going to go over this real quickly because if you go watch my Auto-Tune recording secrets, I go into this like really in depth about how to find the key of an instrumental, okay? But just real quick, if I go to the help, like, you know, where most of you guys should be going because you should be reading manuals, and I go to key codes, that 4A that you see here signifies for F minor, and then you can know the enharmonic equivalent. So if you know you're going to be doing auto-tune type stuff, as most of you may know because you've watched my other tutorials, you need to monitor your voice in real time. That means that as I'm singing or whatever in my microphone, I can actually hear in my headphones the actual auto-tune effect. You need to know what key you need to set that to, all right? Again, like I said, I have a whole tutorial that goes over all this. So that's what the 4A means. So we know my tempo. I pretty much got an idea what my key is, and using that key code, I can use the other surrounding keys around it to test the C. Now, to find out if that's the correct key, I actually go into the session and I'll throw the instrumental in, and then I'll do some singing, some freestyling or whatever to see if that is going to match the actual key of the song. So the first thing you need to do is you need to ensure that your 97.5 tempo is set in there, and I have that already. Now you need to create a track for your instrumental. All right, I'm not going to do that because I'm going to have to Control Z to go back to where I was, but you have to create one stereo track for your instrumental, and then I usually create about 4 or 5 mono tracks for my vocals because this is a rough draft session. I'm not trying to record the real song, and I'm actually just going to use a cheap microphone. This is what I'm talking on right now. It's like a $10 dynamic microphone. You can also use a headset with a simple USB because this isn't for quality. All right, this is just for getting an idea how the track's going to go. So I'm going to Control Z and bring all my tracks back. Here they are. Now, once you bring your instrumental in, you're always going to want to turn it down. I usually turn it down around -15, somewhere around there, because the instrumental producer, when he has these free ones online, they're basically so you can get an idea of how your track could sound, and they do limit it. They put a limiter, and they do some compression possibly, depending on who it is, to bring it up to a louder level. And this is going to be very high in level. It's going to be at a master level, so you need to bring that level down. So there it is. I brought it down to about -15. So if you can for a second, just pretend like all of these vocals are not here. So I'm going to delete those for a moment. So we have my instrumental in here, and now the first thing you need to do, if you haven't done it already, which you probably should have because I usually do, is I go over the arrangement. What is the intended arrangement of the producer, and how are you going to use the track? Well, I know it comes in, looks like it comes in with an intro. It sweeps in, so it's got a low-pass filter, sweeps in, and then it goes straight into what sounds like a hook. So you hear the keyboard in the background. If you've heard the song, then you know exactly how I did this song. So I hear a keyboard in the background, and I know that that's part of the hook because still hear the keyboard. You hear the little keyboard. It's doing a little minor key in the background. Then it goes away. So that signifies, the transition signifies that we're transitioning into probably a verse. The verse carries out to about right here. And I could tell because of the way the waveform changes. So
and demo purposes.
There, we're transitioning into a hook. However, the hook is actually longer and it extends to about this far. So I know that in the beginning that the whole hook isn't there. It's only part of the hook. So that tells me I'm only going to be able to use a part of my hook for the beginning. And that's why I have a pre-hook and a real hook, basically something that transitions into the hook and then the real actual hook. So then after this little hook portion, transitions back into a verse. All right. I could tell by the waveform over here, this is where the hook is probably going to start. Hook's going again. Hook goes all the way to over here, and then it goes into a bridge, so the hook's going to end.
Purchase your tracks today.
So there's no beat. You just hear the instrumental going. There's no drums, no nothing like that, no percussions. And then they're going to come back in. But it sounds like it's coming back into a hook. Now, you have a choice of doing a bridge and then doing a small little verse, outro type thing right there, and then transitioning into the hook. That's not what I did. I just chose to transition right into the hook. So I know how the arrangement's going to go. I know how the track needs to be put together. I got an idea for what that's going to be. Your next step is, of course, to come up with lyrics if you don't have them already. Now, I usually don't do much writing. I do some writing, but usually this microphone is my pen, and this program you see here in front of me, that's my pad. So I can actually just come in here, throw my instrumental in, and I can come up with a rough idea, and I can just come up with my lyrics as I go along. Now, the way I usually work is I usually create my hook first because the hook is going to be the driving force behind the song. So what I'll do is I'll find out where the full hook is, because if I go over here, I'm just going to be able to create half of the hook. So I need to go where the full hook is, and that's where I come up with my idea. So I'll listen to it, and I'll freestyle on the microphone and come up with an idea for a hook. Now, if you've watched up until this point, you're in for a treat because I'm about to show you another little trick you can use to find the key of the instrumental. and this is one of the many reasons I love working in this program and I switched to it, is I'm going to split this right here and create a separate event, because I can have event effects. This is an event. This is now a separate event. And if you notice over here, it says event effects. Now, I can enable this and throw effects on there, or you got to have Melodyne for this, all right? And you got to have the newest version that has direct no access. I'm basically going to right-click. I'm going to say Edit with Melodyne. It's going to analyze it. Once it's done analyzing it, it's actually going to tell me the key that it believes that portion is in. I'm going to zoom in here so you can see the key. And there you can see it says F minor. It has detected this instrumental portion as F minor. So I know now that it's an F minor. If I click on here, you can see the Melodyne's actually been inserted as an event plugin right here. Now, what I love about this is I could throw other effects in here, and then once I'm done, I can render it. Now, once I render it, I could save this session, all right? And if you notice, there's a little FX portion over here in the lower left corner. Well, guess what? Even though I've saved it and closed the session, I can come back 2 days later, open this up, and it's going to remember what I did. And I can actually restore, and I can actually just remove it. Now, what I like to do that for is, and I show this in the CD tutorial, is I throw my effects on some portions of vocals, like pitch correction type stuff, and I actually render it to save resources so I don't have a bunch of Melodyne plugins on the various different events. Now, when I render this, if I make a copy of this, so if I go D and duplicate it and bring it down here, as you can see, it has also created a copy, an exact copy with the same effect on the event, and it's been rendered. I can restore this separate one and leave this one rendered. So you can just see the power that this allows you to do, okay? It's freaking simply amazing. Okay, so I've just undone to where I was. And as you know, I'm using auto-tune type effects in this. And as I've said, I have a whole tutorial on how to do this and how to set this up for real-time effects. But you're going to want to set it up, all right? And I'll go over that real quick. Inside of your program, Studio One or any of them, if I go to my options and I go to my audio tab, you can see there's a thing called a control panel, and it's usually next to your audio device. If I open that, in order to get real-time effects, you need to make sure your latency is set to 2 milliseconds, your lowest setting. This means that when I talk into my microphone and I have effects on that track, and I'm pressing this monitor button, there is no delay. You're hearing a delay right now. That's because I have it set to 100 milliseconds. If I set it to 2 milliseconds, there will be virtually no delay, just a 2 millisecond delay, but it's so short you can't even tell. It sounds like it's your voice. Another thing you also need to do is, so I have the actual effect that I want, and I have it set to F minor, all right? You need to set it to the key, and I have it set to hard effects, EFX, is you need to ensure that your vocal from your mixer somewhere on your computer, you need to turn down your original voice, all right? So I would mute this so I can only hear the auto-tuned version. I'm not going to do it here. I do this in a separate tutorial. So I mute my real version, so otherwise I'm going to hear my voice plus the auto-tuned version inside my headphones, and it's going to sound not like auto-tune. It's going to sound like my voice layered over auto-tune. So you need to also mute your original voice in order to monitor in real time. I go over all this in my auto-tune recording secrets and free real-time auto-tune tutorials. So as you can see, these are mono tracks. I can quickly switch them to stereo, but they're mono because this is where I'm going to be recording my vocals. And like I said, this is a rough draft session. I don't have to use a high-quality microphone. I can just use my cheap one. And I'm going to bring my vocals back in right quick. So I'm going to Control-Z. Here's all my vocals. So if you can, just pretend like I didn't record them yet. And we're going to look at this hook, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this portion here. And I'm going to mute this by just pressing V on my keyboard. And pretend like all these vocals are not here and basically nothing's here yet. All right, and I'm going to show you how I did this. Now, for those who have watched my auto-tune recording secrets, you do understand that when you do auto-tune in real time, T-Pain, any professional artist, when they do their, if they want to get the best effect possible, they need to record with auto-tune on while monitoring with auto-tune so they can hear themselves with auto-tune, because it allows you to work the auto-tune and change your voice. So what does that mean? That means you're actually going to be singing off-key. So if you were to hear this without any effects, it's going to be off-key because guess what? I was monitoring with auto-tune, And in order to get the effect of auto-tune, to make it sound good, I need to sing off key. And I'm not really consciously thinking about it. It just happens because I'm listening to my voice through the microphone in my headphones, and I'm able to, it just comes naturally to adjust to make it sound like that auto-tune effect. So that's just a note, because you're going to hear this without the auto-tune and it's going to sound off key. And it sounds like crap. So here we go. Again, as I've said, just pretend like none of these vocals are here. And what I usually do is, this is, as I've said, the microphone is my pen, and this is my little pad here, and I'm going to come up with some vocals. And that's what I did. I had no idea what I was going to be doing for this track. I just knew it was going to be like a club type, vibe. And also I wanted something really simple. Now, the lyrical content of this song is lame. I mean, it's not complex. There's no complex rhyme schemes. The verses, I mean, everything's pretty typical of a club pop type track. It's not witty in any sense of the word. So if you want to make comments about how, man, your lyrics suck, look, trust me, I know this is totally lame, but I did this for people so they could have a tutorial and to teach my people that follow me or whatever. So enough fucking excuses. Let's do this. And what I did was I had the instrumental playing, and I'm going to mute this track and mute this track. And I was like listening, and I'm like, what can I come up with? Because remember, I work on the hook first, so this is the actual hook portion. So I always start with my hook first, and I'm like, what the hell can I say? So what I do is I have my auto-tune on, and I enable it for monitoring. All right, you're not going to hear it because I have it muted. Otherwise, it'd sound not like this, because you would not have the delay. And so now when I sing, it's going to be in key, and I ain't got to worry about trying to stay in key because it's going to be in key. And that will allow me to fish or hunt for the notes that I want and how I want the flow to go. All right? So I'll enable that. And here's what I love about this program, all right, is I can have monitoring enabled. All right? And guess what else? Girl, you know I like it. Now, some of you are probably like, what just happened? Well, on most programs, when you have monitoring enabled, you cannot hear any audio that you have recorded on that track. It basically mutes that audio, and you're only allowed to hear what you're monitoring. Well, guess what? In Studio One, that's not the case. Now, there might be other programs. Maybe they have that function, but this one I found is real simple, and that's why I love it. Because as I'm done recording this one and I want to move down to another track and record my next portion, which I don't know yet because I'm coming up with this as I go, is I'll just leave this one enabled, and I'll come down here and record, and I'll still be monitoring even though I'm recording on this track. All right? And then when I jump back up here and enable this one for recording this next portion that I came up with, I could still have monitoring enabled, and the whole time this monitoring on this track is enabled, and I can monitor with this track. I don't have to use another track for monitoring. So I came over here and I was like, what am I going to say? Enabled the track for recording. I didn't record just yet. I freestyled some stuff, came up with an idea. I knew it was going to be a club track. So this is what I came up with. Oh, girl, you know I like it. All right, now let's hear what it sounded like without auto-tune. All right, so let's take out this little auto-tune effects. And you're going to hear how horrible it sounds because I was monitoring with auto-tune. Oh, girl, you know I like it. Now, I could sing that for reals. However, I won't be able to get the auto-tune sound that I'm looking for. And really, it doesn't matter in this track because this is the rough draft. Oh, girl, you know I like it. Okay, so I'm like, oh, girl, you know I like it. That's all I had. That's how I wanted to start. I didn't know what I was going to say next. This is all run-of-the-mill, me trying to come up with some ideas for the song. And then next I said, like it, you've got me so excited. You know, typical, you've got me so excited. Nothing fantastic about that. And on and on. Excited, and when you're touching me, oh, it feels so erotic. So actually, when I did the song, I actually changed things. Like, that's not you can hear the notes, the melody that I'm singing here, if you would even call this singing. I didn't even use that melody. I kind of changed the melody when I get on my real microphone to something different, usually, and sometimes I'll maintain that melody, but I did change the melody. I don't go like that inside the real song. For you that have heard it, you should have already went to my SoundCloud and listened to the track so you know what's going on here. And so I recorded that. I came up with that next. And then I was like, what can I say next?
Can't get enough of these glasses with the hypnotic.
And then I just kept going on and on.
Let's get it.
Now, the effect that you hear, it's like you would think that I probably chopped it up to create this sound where I'm repeating words. It's me. I just actually said it. You don't have to always chop. You can actually just say it. So that's what I did. And I was like, I want something to be like a chopped up vocal effect, so I just said it.
Come on, let's get this party started.
All right, so that's how I was going to record it. So we'll call this first portion because the hook is coming into a hook. And this is like in this song only, I call it my pre-hook because it's a transition into the hook. And then I went into my real hook vocals and I didn't know what I was going to say, as I've already said a million times. I don't know why I keep saying that. So each one of these little clips, I had no idea what I was going to say next, and I came up with it. I freestyled. I thought about what could rhyme with it, and that's how I came up with it.
Hold your glasses to the sky and hey DJ, turn me higher. You know it's going down, the club is on fire. Ain't got no time for haters, too busy burning paper. Throw it up, watch it fall from the sky. Now you know why this club's on fire. Throw it up.
And that is how I came up with the hook. All right. And so after I had my hook, all right, this is where setting your tempo, which is 97.5, also setting your snap, and inside of this, you definitely want adaptive, snap to grid, relative to grid. All right, if you want to know what that is, look it up in the manual. I want relative to grid, and basically so that when I start to fly hooks, what does fly hook mean? All right, it's a term used in the industry and by, mixers and editors. What that means is I don't want to have to record this hook over and over again. And this is just a rough draft session, and I even do this in a real session, all right? I cover all this in the CD tutorial. But I need to get this hook to the other portions of the song, all right? Because what is this all about, man? What am I doing this for? The whole idea behind this is to come up with a track, right? But once I'm done, all right, what you're not seeing, and I'll get to shortly, is that I have all these tracks going to this Vox. Let me turn this yellow. I usually have these yellow. This is a bus. All those tracks, vocal tracks, are routed to here, and I have isotope nectar, all right, on here, just for compression, saturation, and a touch of reverb. Now, what is the whole idea? What am I doing all this for? As I've said, to come up with a song. But also, I mix this whole entire thing down to a track. I also throw a limiter on the master bus over here, the main, so that I can bring it up in level, all right? And I mix this down so that I can put it on my phone and learn my lyrics. Because guess what? I don't know the song. I don't know the lyrics. I came up with them. They're not fresh in my memory. So you can also do this with other artists. This is a good idea, is you have them come in, record their rough draft session on a cheap-ass microphone. It doesn't take long. They should have their shit already written. Because otherwise, unless they're your friend, you just have them coming over to the studio or whatever. And you guys spend a lot of time in there, jerking each other off or whatever. Totally kidding. And then I mix this down, and I can put it on my phone. And guess what? I can walk around my phone, put my headphones in. If I'm just sitting around doing nothing, if I'm washing dishes, I'll wash dishes. If I'm doing something, whatever, I can listen to it and learn my lyrics. The main important thing you want to do with yourself as an artist and with your other artists that you may produce in is they need to know their lyrics. First off, it saves time in the studio if they're paying you. Now, this might not be good because then they're going to take less time in the studio. But when they do their flow and they actually do the recording, it will be much more immaculate. It'll sound way more natural. It won't sound contrived and like they force themselves to you'll have less edits like you see here, all these different versions, like I have this one here and here. You won't have all that because they'll be able to record most of their verse in one pass. So what I do is I mix all this down. Now, in order to mix this down in here, you need to set your beginning and end points by opening up the marker track here. And that sets what's going to be mixed down. Then I'll go to Song, Export Mix Down. Now, as I've said, I've added some compression. Also, when I recorded these, they weren't all the same level. Some of them, I might have been louder because I might leave. And I didn't do this all in one day. I mean, I came down here for a little bit and I did the hook for it took me an hour, maybe less, to come up with that. And then I left. I had some shit I had to do for the day, and I might even came back the next day. And I came, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to work on the verse. So then I came in here and started recording parts for the verse. And when I'm done, these are going to be all different volumes because I came in at different times, and I didn't say at the exact same volume. And even the tonality between different days is going to sound different, which is one of the main reasons you do not want to have an artist come in and record and then come in a different day and record another part of the same verse, because the tonality of their voice is going to be different. It's going to be a different time of the day. They might have ate something differently that day. They might have smoked some cigarettes that day. Their voice is going to sound different. So, going off subject here, but so these are different volumes, right? Well, I usually just go through and I look at the waveform, and I manually just adjust the volumes to make them look like, I say, okay, that's going to be right there. This one looks a little quiet, so I'll bring that up. And once I am done, I'll actually listen. I'll listen to all of them. I'll listen to the transitions, all right? Nothing fantastic, nothing spectacular that I'm trying to do here. I just try to get a level between all of them. And once they're all level, I still need some effects on them, all right? When I'm listening to this on my headphones and I'm trying to learn the lyrics and sing along with it, I want to be able to hear it with some effects, all right, some reverb, and I want it to be compressed, all right, because if there's no compression at all, some parts are going to be too quiet and some parts are going to be too loud. I want it all, you know, just nice. So what I do is, here's another reason why I love Studio One, is I can select tracks. Actually, I wouldn't select that one. I'd select my vocal tracks, all right? Here's another one. And I right-click and I say, add bus for selected tracks. I'm not going to do that because if I do, it's going to mess up my output routing. Once I click on this, it's going to create a new bus, and it's going to route all those tracks really quickly to that bus. And it's going to open this up, and you're going to see the bus. Now, it's going to be named Bus 1. I double-click it and name it Vox in this situation. And it should be, you should color it. I usually color my buses yellow. Actually, I color my buses red. I color effects yellow. So I know that red is a bus. And I come in here, and all I need is isotope nectar, all right? I just need something that has various things in there. I need something that has compression, EQ. I threw in some saturation. I'm actually not even using EQ. And some reverb. I'm not using the reverb as a send. I'm just using it directly on the track, so I'm doing my mix amount right here. And this will give me the sound that I need, and then I just dial in some compression, all right, because all my vocals are going here, so I'll listen. Hey, DJ, to me. I set like a 4-to-1 ratio, you know, just a 4 millisecond attack, whatever, and a release. I kind of like listen to it. I put auto gain on, so I ain't got to worry about messing with the gain. And I adjust my threshold to get, you know, some reduction. Hey, DJ, turn me higher. Get about 10 decibels of reduction, something that keeps it at a same level. And I just doing some saturation for the hell of it. And then I was like, I need some reverb, so I threw some reverb on. Hey, DJ, turn me higher. You know it's going. So if you want to hear the reverb, let me drop this down, mute this. Hey, DJ. Hear the reverb. Hey, DJ. Hey, DJ. Now, I like this reverb because it's very grainy. Now, it's grainy yet smooth, and when you have a grainy reverb like this, it actually can cut through the mix really well, so you don't have to use much reverb with this to cut through a mix. But I'm using that for this just because it's an isotope, and it's already in there, and it's real simple to use. And someone is texting me. All right, so I have the vocals going to this bus, and they're all those tracks. Again, as I've said, if you don't know what a bus is, you need to go watch my free multi-track recording tutorial. It's on my DVD page of free downloads. Basically, what's happening is all these tracks, as you can see, are going out. If you look over here, this is my input, which is my microphone. And then this right here is going, they're usually going to main, but once I created add selected tracks, add a bus for selected tracks, it automatically routed them to that Vox track, which was really named Bus 1, but I renamed it. All right. So let me Control Z this stuff. So you guys kind of see how I have the effects on there. And the other reason for this whole entire thing, besides the fact that I need to come up with lyrics, besides the fact that I want something on my phone that I can listen to and I can memorize my lyrics and be able to just come in here and lay it down with a lot of confidence, I know my lyrics, which is very important, as I've said, is I'm also going to mix down the vocals alone. That means I'm going to mute this instrumental track, and I'm going to basically, the only tracks that are active, don't mind this one down here, because that's what I'm going to be creating. The only tracks that are active are these tracks here, and then, of course, my main here, and then I got this, all the vocals going to this bus.
Hey DJ, turn me higher. You know it's going down. The club is on fire.
Okay, and as you can see, my RMS level, which is this white
Hey
line,
DJ, turn me
and
higher.
you can see my peak level, which is like 19. That's kind of low. So I'll need to throw a limiter on there. So I just threw a L2 on here, and I'll set my ceiling to about 0.1. All right, and then I'll bring down the level, which will increase the gain.
Hey DJ, turn me higher. You know it's.
All right, I'm not going to go into mixing. I have a full DVD that goes over all the theory behind compression, equalization, reverb, and all that kind of stuff. Most of you guys already know what this is. Basically, I need this to be up to level. So I will also have my instrumental going.
Hey DJ, turn me higher. You know it's going down. The club is.
I'm not going to do it here because it's going to blast your ears, but basically I bring the level up to a, I don't know, around a negative 12 RMS level, and then that allows me to have, when I put it on my phone, it's up to a level that is easily manageable and I can hear everything. Otherwise, it's going to be very low, and then you're going to have to turn up the volume on your phone, which might not go loud enough, and you're not going to be able to hear shit. So you just do a quick pre-master. I mean, it's not even really mastering because this isn't the real track. You're just bringing everything up in level. I'll leave the L2 on there, and then I'll mute this track, and then I'll mix down only the vocals, which you can see down here I've already done because this is the session I did it in. Again, there's my start and my end point that's going to be exported, and I'll mute the instrumental. I'll leave everything else the way it is, and I'll go song, export, mix down, and then I'll choose the name. It usually creates, this is why I love this program, it actually creates a new folder inside of the actual location of the session called Mixdown, and it puts all your mixdowns in there. Now I'll choose MP3 because I'm not looking for super high quality here. This is just for my phone, and it's also so I can have the vocals, because I take these vocals and I bring them into my real session that I'm going to be recording. I just like to have my vocals there if for some reason I don't know what my next verse is or whatever, or another artist needs to know what they're going to be saying, which they should already know. But just in case, I have it there, all right? Or if they forget, how did their flow go? How did the flow go for that? Or how was the melody for what they sang? So they can use that track inside of their session, and I can always unmute it and say, hey, look, this is how you said it. I want you to say it like this. Or to myself, this is how I need to say it. So I'll go simple 320 kilobits per second MP3 file, and I'll go import to track. And what happens is it mixes it down, just the vocals only, and it brings it into a separate track, which is down here. And now we have only the vocals. And since I mixed down, and it mixed down everything through this Vox, and it went to the main, all my vocals had the effects on them. So if I mute this, this is just going to the main out, and there's no effects on my main here, and you're still going to hear the effects because I mixed it down with effects.
Hey DJ, turn me higher.
So I got my compression on there, I got my reverb, saturation, whatever, and now I have my vocals down. I probably should have done it to a mono track to save space, but whatever, it's down to stereo. So you probably want to select mono when you're doing your vocals only. That way you can save extra hard drive space because it's mono. However, now that I say it, the reason why I did it is because I got reverb. Reverb is like a stereo effect. So I left it stereo so that I could still have my reverb intact, all right? So if you're throwing reverb and stuff like that, make sure you do export a stereo vocal file. And with this file, I will now bring that into the real session that I'm going to be recording. And that is a whole other session. And that, my friends, is how I came up with this track. It's how I come up with most of my tracks. Or I don't usually write, as I've said. I do some writing. Now I'm going to unmute this. I'll go Shift M, toggle mute, and then it's good to know your shortcuts, people, so you can do shit quickly. I can just fly around this program using my shortcuts. And I was like, you know what? I need to come up with a verse next. But before I do that, let me show you something that I probably didn't. I can't remember if I did or not, because this is all just free-form tutorial shit, me doing random shit. My hook here, right? Big surprise, ha!
Oh girl, you know I like it.
I need to basically copy this hook somewhere else. Again, I don't remember if I covered this or not, but I'll just do it again real quickly. If I did, just forgive me for being a total idiot. But I'm going to select basically this whole portion here. All right. or these, my hook vocals, I should say. And actually, I don't need that whole portion because if you remember in the beginning,
Hold your glasses.
it's only the end of my hook. So I just need this one, and this one, which should be my complete.
Now you know why this club's.
I'll duplicate that. Of course, this other vocals wouldn't be here yet. So here it is right here. And I slide that over. And I've already done it, as you can see, but this is just an example of the reason why you need to ensure that you have your tempo set and you have a good quantize setting. Let me drop this right here. I usually use 1/64th. And then, like I said, I have adaptive and I have relative grid, which automatically selects snap to grid. Relative grid, I'm not really going to go into it, but it's important because if this was off of the grid just a little bit, it allows it to basically snap to where it was. Because if you notice, the beginning of this track here, or this event, isn't on the actual tempo line here, all right? It's off. So when I move it, it's going to move it relative to this. So when I put it somewhere else and I need it to snap to a on tempo, it's going to leave the exact same gap that I had, because as you can see, I kind of like trimmed it and like did an in fade. So if you don't understand what I'm saying, I'm sorry if you don't understand, but you probably do. So you need to have that relative to grid on. And basically, I bring it over, and since it's snapping to the grid, it's staying on tempo. If you did your vocals, which you should have, and you were on point, you were on beat when you recorded it, when you copy and fly your hook, this is called flying your hook, or basically bring your hook over, so because I'm not going to record it all over again. This allows you to just be able to snap it in. Now, let me Control Z that. So I'll pretend like this is what I just brought over after I duplicated it. All right, see, here it is. Now I can simply move this around, all right, and I'm at 1/64, so I'll zoom in some more so I can see more. And I'll bring it in, and I'll set it down, which I know this isn't where it needs to be, because I know that from looking at the waveform here, you guys should be able to view waveforms and know what's happening. I know it comes in about right here. So if I drop it here,
Hold your
that's
glasses.
off beat. And you should be able to hear that, all right? You should have an ear for this kind of stuff. That is way off. That's not where it needs to be. So I'm going to reselect these, and I will group them. Actually, no, I won't group them. I'll just have them selected. And I will move them to where I know they need to be. I know the start of this vocal needs to be right on this beat right here where it starts. So I will snap it right there. I'll listen.
Hold your glasses to the sky
And I know that is exactly where it needs to be. All right. So that is the beauty of having your tempo set, having your snap to grid set, and having a good quantize setting of, I'm using 1/64th. That allows me to, whenever I want to fly a hook or move shit around, I know and I have confidence, and I don't have to worry about using milliseconds, that it's going to snap on tempo. And this goes to if you're chopping vocals. If I'm chopping vocals and duplicating it to create effects, you know, like little chops, I know that.
Hold your glasses to the sky and hey, turn me high.
It's on beat. So that's another reason why you need to make sure that you have your tempo set, because when you start doing like cool effects like chopping and stutters and stuff like that, if it's on tempo, it's going to put everything on tempo. You have nothing to worry about. All right. All right, so this is what we're going to do now. You know how I exported the vocals alone and I was going to bring them into my real recording session? At the end of this tutorial, I'm going to have a link, and there'll be a link, and I'll also have it in the description. It's going to be a link to the actual setup. You get to see my studio. I do a quick studio tour, and you can check out how I had my whole entire setup done, because I was by myself and I had to record myself. You can see how my microphone was set up, how I had everything going, and so that's going to be at the end. It's also in the description. And I had to create a session now to do my real recording. So I set up my real microphone, and then I create the session. Now, this is a separate session, and I name it Club on Fire Done Recording. Well, why am I naming it that if I'm not done recording? Well, that's because I know when I'm done recording, That's the one. It's the done recording session. So I name it done recording. I'm going to open that, and we're going to see those vocals that I exported, what I did with those. So here's the session I actually recorded in. And the only effects that I have, real quickly, is the only effect I have in this whole session, because this is just a recording session, is this auto-tune effects. Because I monitor live, I monitor my vocals live with auto-tune as I'm doing this track, because this track was going to have some auto-tune in it. So when I'm doing my real recording for my hook, I use the auto-tune. All right. And that is on my bridge track. And this bridge track was actually up here, because I knew I was going to have a bridge and I was going to have to record one. So I knew the bridge was going to be a single track, and I was going to do other effects to make it sound like really wide and stereo-ish. So I used the monitoring on that track for all my recording. So as I recorded that track, I have the monitoring going, and the whole time I'm recording my hook, I have that set like that. Now, when I do my recording, and so this is another reason why I love Studio One, is if I zoom in here, I have my pre-hook here. Now, there's no effects, so this is how it would sound raw. All right, it's going to be way off key.
Girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited.
Let's hear one by itself.
Girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited. And when you're touching me.
So you can see when I actually for reals recorded this, all right? If you can for a second, pretend like no other vocals are in here. I was like, you know what? It's time to record my hook. I have what I call my pre-hook, which is these 3 tracks here, because that's my pre-hook, and then it goes into my real hook. I record to, and this is why I love this program, is because, expand layers, you can see layers. What is this? What does this mean? Well, what's going on here? I'm not going to expand all layers, but if you can just for a second imagine that all these takes, for instance, this take, and this take, before any of this other stuff right here was even in here, I recorded this first, all right? I didn't record this pre-hook all the way through. I mean, I'm going to lose some of my excitement and my breath, actually, to do this. I could have done it all the way through, and, but I just want to get the same effect that I'm looking for. Because you need to be careful when you're doing this real-time auto-tune. If I'm trying to get the auto-tune effect, I don't want to be recording here and fuck up somewhere along the way and then being like, damn, everything before that could be screwed up just because of that one little error, which I could also just do vocal comping, but this is just how I do it, okay? You don't have to do it this way. You can record it all the way through. So pretend like nothing's here. That stuff that you see on this layer, how that works is, and I'm about to tell you, because I've been saying the reason why I love this so much, is I can actually record the layers. And how that works is, if you notice I have this little thing open down here, let's say View, Record Panel. You have to go View, Record Panel. Opens up my record panel, and I select Recorded Takes, Overdub. And then I go Record Takes to Layers. You gotta check that. And what that does is, you set up a loop point, and what I did was I set up the loop point right about there. I think it was about right there. I arm the track that I'm going to be recording to, which in this case was this one here. And here's my rough vox, by the way.
Oh, girl, you know I like it.
All right. Wait, let me mute that.
Oh, girl, you know I like it.
I bring it in and I turn it down a lot. And if ever I need to hear it, I just bring it up in volume.
Oh, girl.
But I have it turned down a lot because I don't really like to hear it when I'm doing my thing because it's kind of distracting. And then I have this track here enabled for recording. And I'm monitoring over here. I'm going to mute it. So I'm monitoring, and I leave that on. And I don't have this soloed, but it's just for this instance. Set my recording, and I record on this track alone, because remember, I'm recording to layers. Once I hit the record button, make sure you have a loop turned on. When I hit this record button, what's going to happen is it's going to record, So I'm going to do it real quick just to show you. What it's going to do is it's going to record, and then it's going to loop back and record some more, and loop back and record some more. And what I do is I say the exact same thing. Oh, girl, you know I like it. I sing it the way I'm going to do it, monitoring my vocals with this auto-tune, and I sing it. And then what happens is I do it over and over about 6 times. And then from those 6 takes, I choose my best ones, and then I'm able to bring them, and here they are. I chose these right here. So let me do that real quick. I'll show you this. Some of you guys already know about this kind of stuff. But I'm going to recording right now, and then it's going to come back, and I'm saying the same thing. So I'm like, oh, girl, you know I like it. And then, oh, girl, you know I like it. Yeah, oh, girl, you know I like it. Over and over. Oh, girl, you know I like it, right? And then once I'm done, and I hit stop, you can see here all these various layers or takes. That's what I love about this program. So now I can choose which ones I want to use, and that's where the other tracks come into play. I got this track here and this track here, created. So what I will actually do is, if you double click one of these, it promotes it to the top, and then I'll take that and I'll drag. And Studio One has constrained dragging, so I ain't got to worry about where I'm moving it. If I just drag it down, it automatically keeps it in time. So I just drag it to the track I want. Let's say if I want to use this take. You know what? I like this take, and how you can listen as you do this. I'm like, oh, girl, you know I like it. And if I like that one, if I want to hear it with the instrumental, I'll just double click it, and it promotes it to the top, and now I can hear it with the effect. If I throw auto-tune on this track, so I throw auto-tune on this track just so I can hear the effect. All right, you're not going to hear nothing, whatever. And if I like that one, I can actually drag that down to my other pre-hook track, and then I'll choose another one that I like. Let's say if I like this one, all right, and I'll take that one and drop that one down. So basically, I love it. It allows me to get everything done really quickly, and that's why you see these different layers. And I chose, there was more layers here, but these are the 3 that I chose to use, and I kept them. I deleted all the other layers, and I brought them in here. So that's how I did that. I record the layers, and I record in loop mode so that I can say it over and over, and some of them I'm going to fuck up on, and the ones I don't are the ones I use. It's also called vocal comping. So that's how I did that. So I'm going to unexpand that. And basically, so I don't have to cover this on the CD, that's how I did the recording for that. Let's bring this smaller. All right. My bridge. Now I'm always monitoring on this track, as I've said. I'm going to turn that off. All right. Here's my rough vocals, as you've already seen, that I mixed down. And that's just like I said, for me or myself, I'm 2 people. I'm actually 3, me, myself, and I. It's so the artist or myself can know what my vocals are, basically. That's all it's about. Now, what you're not seeing here is the fact that when I really recorded this stuff, let me expand the layers on this one. Let's go find those layer portions. You can see how they're longer here. When I promote it and then I choose the ones, I chose these 3. They're right here, and right here. I clean them up. So I basically do my end fades in this session, the same session. I do all my quick, let's zoom in here. I do all my tidying up here. And then let's zoom in a little bit. A lot of you guys know this kind of stuff. And I bring in my fade just a little bit to cut off the end to get some good quality. You can use a gate, an audio gate on your track for this. I prefer this method. It takes a little bit more time, but it's worth it in the end. So then that's why it looks all pretty and clean. All right. Let's bring this up here. We're just hanging out, guys. That's all we're doing right now. If you're bored out of your mind, you can go ahead and fucking leave, whatever. Doesn't bother me. Some of you guys might get something out of this. A lot of the newbies are going to get stuff out of this. Some of you professionals out there, you know, geniuses, scientists, fucking aliens, are not going to need any help with this kind of stuff. So I did my pre-hook, all right? And like I said, there's no effects on here, so this sounds horrible. So if you were in the studio when I recorded this, when I'm in my headphones, I sound like a fucking star. I sound super, super awesome. I'm like, yo, I'm the best motherfucker on the planet right now. All right. But if you were in the studio or maybe in the next room, I go over this in my auto-tune recording secrets. And exactly what I say is, if you're upstairs or somewhere else, wherever you might be listening to me, if there's like company over, which I wouldn't do this if there's company over, it's going to sound like a dog is being slaughtered. It's going to sound like in my basement, I slaughter dogs for God knows what reason, because I love animals. I would never do that. But that's what you sound like. You sound like total crap. So if you were to go to a session with like T-Pain or any of these other guys and you were to go check them out recording a song using real-time auto-tune live like this, they're going to sound like shit because they're working the auto-tune and they'll sound like this.
Oh girl, you know I like it. Oh girl, you know.
Let's turn off this loop. Let me fuck up your eardrums a little bit here.
Got me so excited, and when you're touching me, oh it feels so erotic. Can't get.
Well, let's bring them all in for a crescendo of stupidness.
Got me so excited, and when you're touching me, oh it feels so erotic.
Oh my God, please. Someone just stop it. Now, we all know why this sounds like this. If you just now came into this tutorial, for some reason skipped to this portion, which is probably 800 minutes in, because my tutorials are long. What you don't know is I did it live, so that's why it sounds like that. Anyway, so once I recorded this, and as I've said, some insight on how I do this, each portion I recorded separately. So I recorded this to some layers, and then I was like, you know what? I need to record my next part. So then I recorded this.
Got me so excited.
That's it. That's all I said. I was like, I'm going to record. I set my record on probably the next track, and I recorded.
You've got me so excited.
And it looped, and I kept saying the same thing over and over. And then in the end, I chose these 3 takes. Why do I got 3 takes? Well, let me give you a little insight here. I got my pre-hook left, which is going to be panned to the left. There is no panning going on right now because I do that in a separate session or a separate version. All right, I do versions. Once I'm done recording and I clean this whole session up, I save to a new folder. I create a new folder. When I'm going to actually start doing my panning, I create a new session, or basically to a new folder, a new version, and that version will have all my editing, further editing, and it'll have all my like in fades, and I'll also have my panning. That's when I start doing my panning and adding my effects. And then I'll do another version, many versions, during my process of when I actually started doing my mixing. And then I'll have various versions of the various mixes that I've done, and I'll get an idea which one I like the best and which one has the best combination, you know, stuff like that. So I recorded this part of the hook, and then I was like, I need to record my actual hook, which is HC, which is HC, HL, and HR, which is hook center, hook left, hook right. This is pre-hook center, pre-hook left, pre-hook right. This is not the same. So if you're going to try and copy this, this isn't the same for, it's always different for different songs. All right. Now, with this portion, I actually recorded this whole part. You know what? Just so I'm not killing your guys' eardrums here, I'm going to throw the auto-tune effects on there. All right. So pretend that you're hearing me, you're with me, and this is what I heard when I was singing in the microphone. Because I was monitoring real time, F minor, and I had it set to Hardy effects, and I'm monitoring only the auto-tune. And when I was singing in the microphone, this is what I heard.
Hold your glass.
Okay, I didn't hear that shit.
Hold your glasses to the sky and hey DJ, turn me higher. You know it's going down, the club is on fire. Hold your glasses to the sky.
Over and over. Let me extend this. So I probably, let's see, how much was there? About that much. So that's where I had my loop set. Probably had this over here. Let's extend this out. Yeah, I had it about right there. So Control Z, see? What I'm doing here is giving you an idea of how I had this set up. So that's how I had my loop. I had my loop setting. I had my record takes the layers, and I recorded the layers, and I actually recorded this. As you can see, I chose the 3 best takes because I need 3 takes because I'm going to pan 1 left, 1 right, and 1 down the center to maintain mono compatibility. And I actually recorded it. So this is what I heard while I was recording and it looped back, and then I said the exact same thing. So I'm recording. Pretend like this is on for recording, and I'm recording, okay?
Yeah. Hold your glasses to the sky and hey DJ, turn me higher. You know it's going down, the club is on fire. Ain't got no time. Hold your glasses to the sky and hey DJ, turn me higher. You know it's going down, the club is on fire. Yeah. Hold your glasses to the sky and hey DJ, turn me higher. You know it's going down, the club is on fire. Hold your glass.
So as you can see, I recorded it over and over, probably like 6 or 10 times. Who knows? I can't remember. Do I have layers on here? I didn't do it on this track. I recorded it on a different track with my layers, and created this track and threw this layer, this part on there. So I recorded the same thing. I did loop recording, said the same thing the exact same way, and some of them ended up being fucked up. And if I fuck up halfway through, it doesn't matter because I got the next pass to come through and I can still record and get it correct. I chose the best 3 takes, and those are the ones I'm using here, as you can see. And let me Control-Z that. There we go. So we're back to where we were. And that's how I came up with this. So what you just heard was how I hear it in my headphones. It sounds all right. It doesn't sound the best because it doesn't have compression. It doesn't have reverb.
Hold your glasses to the sky and
this is just my recording session. I have no plugins, no compression, no EQ, no reverb, no nothing. It's just, this is where I do all my recording.
hold your glasses to the sky.
And you've already heard that, so I'll fucking stop playing it. So basically, once I have that set, I'm good with this portion. Then I move on to my next portion. So if you can just, for a second, pretend like all these are muted. All right.
Ain't got no time for haters.
So I set new loop points and I record those. So you guys get the fucking idea, all right? That's what I did. That's how I did it. Now, as I've said, this is the session that I do all my recording in, all right? So once I'm done with the hook, you can see there's only one hook in here. I don't have the hook anywhere else. That is because this isn't the session I actually started doing all that. Again, that's a separate session, or I should say a version, a new version when I actually started flying hooks. So if you've watched up until this point, I am a YouTube partner, so I can have super long videos. You're going to be able to see how I fly a hook. So I know that the beginning of the song, let's say if I'm in my new session and I've already done all my fades and stuff like that, I need to get my hook copied around to all the different places. Well, I know in the beginning of the track, if you've heard it, my hook comes in right here. It starts off with a portion of the hook, and it starts off with this portion of the hook. So what I'll do is, I'll come here, let's say I'm in my new session. This is called flying a hook. You get to see me do it. Make sure you're, I can just close this. Make sure you have your tempo set. You should have done that a long time ago. And I have adaptive relative to grid. And I have my quantize set to 1/64th, so I can really get in there and make sure I'm on point. I hit D on my keyboard, and it makes a copy. These are real new files. Actually, they're all new, all right? And then I can take this. I can either group them to move them so I ain't got to keep selecting them, or I can just make sure they're always selected. Come over here. Make sure I keep them on these tracks because these tracks are where I'm going to actually be doing my mixing and my panning and stuff like that. So I need to make sure I keep these on that track. And I'll zoom in and I will bring the waveform down a little bit so I can see. And I will zoom this out a little bit. And where does it come in? I'm looking at the waveform. It comes in right here, so I know I need to move this to about right here.
Hold your glass.
There we go. I'm on tempo. And actually, it can go a couple more 64ths. If I zoom in more, you can see all the little 1/64th markers here. And I need it to come in right on this beat right here. So as you can see, it's right there.
Hold your glass.
So now we are on tempo. So I didn't have to do any nudging. I didn't have to do anything because it moved it relative to grid. It moved my copy right where it needs to be.
Hold your glass.
That's actually off beat too. So let's zoom in. Looks like it needs to be a little bit to the left. Right, I mean.
Hold your.
No, needs to go the other way. So as you can see, you just gotta fuck around with it here.
Hold your glasses to the sky and. Hold your glasses to the sky and.
There we go. So now we're on tempo. So it's real simple to do. In this little window, it took me a little longer because I have this at 720, 120, 1280 by 720, so I can't really see as much of the screen as I'd like to. This is just for the tutorial. So I got that one, and guess what? Now, that's just for the intro. Well, now I need the other hook.
Reference and demo.
Hook comes in right here. So then I'll select everything because I need the full entire hook. I'll hit duplicate. And then I'll fly that where it needs to be. I don't have much screen real estate here. Let me close my inspector so I can get more screen here. Where's the hook come in at? Over here?
And demo purposes.
Let's solo this here so I can hear it.
And demo purposes.
Oh girl.
No, definitely not it.
And demo purposes.
Oh girl.
And demo purposes.
Oh girl, you.
Bear with me, folks.
And demo purposes.
It needs to be right here,
And demo
somewhere around here.
purposes.
Oh girl.
And demo.
It goes.
And demo purposes. And demo purposes.
Right there.
And demo purposes.
Oh girl, you.
And demo purposes.
Ha.
Oh girl, you know I like.
And demo purposes.
Oh girl, you know I like it.
Of course, you're not hearing any auto-tune, so it sounds like shit. So I got that one where it needs to be. So there, I've already flow over my two hooks. And then there was one more hook after this, so I can actually hit duplicate again. And then I fly my last hook, which is going to be after the bridge, if you've heard the song. And then I position the hook where it needs to be. That's how you fly hooks. In order to do it, you need to ensure that you have your snap to grid set on and you have the tempo set, which you should have done in the very beginning before doing anything. Now, that's how I fly my hooks out. Those are already flown out and good to go. And my verses that I recorded, I don't really need to worry about those, all right? I'll go over some of that part right now. Let me go over that real quick. All right, so in this version, I haven't done any panning or anything. I'm just doing all my editing and flying hooks. This is where I do all that stuff. I'm going to finish up some of my editing here. So I just zoom into the waveform a little bit here. And then I zoom in like this. Bring this up. And then I'll just do some editing here. And it works better if I get online here. And then I'll select both of them. And then I can move them as an entity. And then I can bring in both the crossfades there. Not crossfade, but the end fade. There's a breath right here. If you listen...
Hopping out my whip.
I don't need that breath for this beginning.
Hopping out my whip.
So I removed the breath. That's what I did. So I come in here to finish up some of my editing. All right. And then I'll come over here. Bring this. Clean these up. All right, and since there's two of them, it's best if you line them up and select both of them. It makes everything faster. Like this right here. I'll get rid of that breath. Bring in this fade. Sometimes you fuck up. Boom. Bring this over. Have to unselect that. And basically the boring editing part. So once I'm done editing and I'm done with all my edits, I'll start my panning. And then once I'm done with panning, I'll save a new session or a new version, and then I'll start adding my plugins. So once I'm done doing all my editing, I will start creating my groups, and I will start doing my panning. So I know that this is my left, my center, and my right. And if I bring those up like this and open my inspector, I'm going to basically do my panning. But this is one thing I do not like about Studio One Pro is They're little pan knobs over here. I'd like there to be a pan knob on here, but let's see. If I hold my shift key, I can be more accurate. But this is my left one, and I can't remember how much I panned it. You can check in my CD if you ordered a CD, but I believe it was like 80% to the left. So if I hold shift key, I can be more accurate here. You can also just type it in. This was down the center, and then this one was... Oh, man, that's my volume. What the fuck am I doing? Don't want to do that. It's right here. So 80. 80 to the right. And then that one was center. So my right, my center, my left. Now, I don't do it from here. I do it from my mixer. I come into my mixer, and that's where I do my panning. So my hook left, center, and right. You can see 80 to the left, 80 to the right. I know my actual hook portion is going to be the same way. So I'll come over here to 80. Hold shift key once I get there. Come over here. Get around 80. Hold shift key. Get there. Let go. And this one will be center. So I got that panned. I ended up not using these tracks. Don't need to worry about that. My lead is always going to be down the center. My stress left and stress right. Those are about 50, so I'll go to 50 left, 50 right. All right. Ad-libs, those are about, I don't know, 20%, left and right or whatever. So I do all my panning. And once I'm done doing all my panning, I'll save a new session that's called, I believe it's called Panned. Ready for plugins or some shit like that, okay? And in that new version, I'll start adding all my plugins. This is just so before I add any plugins, I can always go back to this session where everything's been panned, it's been edited, and it is now ready to accept plugins for mixing. So I still need to do my routing, and this is what I love about this program. If I go boom, 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 select these 3 tracks, go boom, and you got to say boom when you do it. Add bus for selected tracks. If I go to my mixer, it created a bus called bus 1. You need to rename it. I would name that, let's say, pre-hook CLR, center, left, right. There already is one here. I'll delete that, remove it. So here it is. I'll change it to yellow. And I believe I make buses yellow and effects red. FX channels red. So now all those tracks are going to this bus. I didn't have to do any routing. It automatically did it because I selected these tracks and said add a bus for those tracks. So it automatically does all your routing. As you can see, these are routed to my PCLR, which I renamed it because it was originally bus 1. My input, which is my microphone, ASIO in left. And then it's going out to my CLR. These right here are already routed to my CLR, which is my other one, my real hook, my center, left, right. So now that they are routed there, which I didn't do in this session, as you can see, because I don't have everything routed. So in the other session, I routed everything. But that's basically why I love this program. It's real quick to, I move around so fast. I create buses. I create buses for everything really fast. I'll create a bus just for my lead vocal, and then I'll select these 2, add bus for selected tracks, come into the mix panel, which I'll have open probably already because I'll have more screen. I'll name this stress, L, stress. So I come in on the left and the right to add emphasis, all right? And I'll put my plugins on this, change that to yellow. And now when I start adding my plugins, so I will basically do that for every single thing that I'm going to bus. And I believed I sent these 3, this one to its own bus, this one to its own bus, these 2. All right, you got to order the CD to see how I did everything because I didn't end up using, for this pre-hook, I didn't use all 3. I didn't use all 3 of these. I used the center one, and then I trimmed it and cut a lot. I did some cuts. Let's see if I can do this. So I was like, oh girl, you know I wanted to come in on know I like it just for this part. The real hook has all 3 of these going, but for the pre-hook it doesn't have 3 of them going. So I was like, oh girl, you know I want to come in know I like it. So I trimmed it, and these are going to be going left and right. Oh girl, you know.
Oh girl, you know. Oh girl, you know I like it.
So I came in right there, and that is basically what I did. I did that because, and you'll hear like a vocoded type sound. If you go listen to the real song, you'll hear, I start out with just my lead vocal right here, and then it comes in with like a vocoded type sound. And if you want to learn how to do those kind of tricks and how I did the trick over here. If you want to know how I took this crap and made it sound the way I made it sound, you got to order the CD because that's a little trick, a little secret. And I'm not going to show that here because then everybody will try and sound like that. So you got to order it. And then, came in here, did this. We're just hanging out right now, folks. This is not how my tutorial CD is set up. We're just fucking around.
So excited.
So on So Excited, I wanted...
Got me so excited.
So then I do my little effect for that part, a vocoded type sound, and I did not use a vocoder.
And when you're touching me.
And then I took these right here, and then I brought... So the reason why, and I do this for... let's see here.
And when you're touching me, oh, it feels so...
So if you can figure, this tutorial is in mono, but right now from my left and my right, I hear them coming on my left and my right. Of course, there's no effects on here. That's all on my CD. You get to see the exact effects I use to get that nice, smooth auto-tune sound. Yeah. All right. This is all without the effects. So that's how I created that. And then when I came into my hook, I left the hook with all three of them going, but with effects, okay? And I treated these last portions here for the...
Come on, let's get it.
And you'll hear it like pitch up and turn into a different type of voice. I created a separate effect for those. That's all on the CD. So... The lead verse, as you can see, I recorded all this. Now, before I started using parallel compression for the lead vocal, I used to have to leave it like this. I'd have the main one, and I wouldn't have this one. And I would have this one, which would be also to the center. And to add thickness...
Hopping out my whip and I'm gripping on my what's up?
And in order for me, because I have a thin voice, in order for me to have thickness, I would do a strict overdub like this, saying the exact same thing, and I'd mix this one in to taste.
Hopping out my whip and I'm gripping on my what's up? What's up?
To make it sound thin, otherwise...
Hopping out my whip and I'm gripping on my
sounds too plain and thin, you know what I mean? So I used to do it like that, but now with parallel compression and using isotope nectar, I started doing it with Renaissance Compressor by Waves and setting up a duplicate of the track and then heavily compressing it and then adding an EQ on the parallel track. If you want to know about parallel compression, I go over that in my CD. And it allows me to thicken my vocal and bring in a warmer sound to make my voice sound thick. I also got some other tricks going on the lead vocal to add a sense of space, and I'm not talking about reverb here. It adds a little bit more thickness and it makes it sound the way it sounds. I'm not going to go over that here either. But how I ended up doing is I have the lead vocal and the parts that I want to come in for emphasis, just so that I don't have to... You see these little ad-libs down here?
Now you know what's up.
Instead of me having to come in like that and record like that for all of my stress overdubs, this is what I did. I did layer recording. I recorded my layers, chose the best 3, and I came in.
Hopping out my whip. Hopping out my whip. Hopping out my whip and I'm gripping on my
So I wanted gripping on my
Hopping out my whip and I'm gripping on my Hopping out my whip and I'm gripping on my what's up?
I actually kept that in there too, so I didn't split that because I wanted what's up to be wide also. Now you can't hear this, but these are going off to the left and the right if they were panned.
Hopping out my whip and I'm gripping on my what's up? What's up? Yeah, you can look.
I took these, and I didn't want these all to be together, so I kind of trimmed that.
Hopping out my whip and I'm gripping on my what's up? What's up? Yeah, you can look, but you don't say nothing. Shut up. Shut up, like Michael Jackson said, you know who's.
Then I came over here, like Michael Jackson said. Where the fuck is it?
Shut up, like Michael Jackson.
Came over here, split those. I actually use keyboard shortcut. I believe it's 1, 2, 3. Keyboard shortcut number 3. If I press 3 and 1, I can switch between those. So if I press 1 on my keyboard, I switch back to this arrow. Slide this over.
Like Michael Jackson said, you know who's bad. Like Michael Jackson said, you know who's bad. Like Michael Jackson said, you know who's bad. Who's bad.
So that's why I did my 3 recordings, because with my thin voice and me using parallel compression and another little secret trick I use, which can also give you the Nate Dogg effect sound. If you wanted to do that, if you want to hear that sound, you can go, if you go watch my Get With This tutorial, it's on YouTube. It's a free tutorial that shows you how I created the song Get With This, but I say, I can't show you this because it's a secret. It's called thickness. It's a actual insert effect, and it's a send effect actually, and it gives you a really thick, nice sound, kind of like a Nate Dogg vibe. Makes it sound like you doubled it a couple times. I use that, but I don't dial it in as much. So that coupled with parallel compression on my lead vocal gives me a nice thick sound without actually having to overdub the whole thing. All right. And then I use these overdubs to bring in my stresses. Now you can just come in here and record. What I used to do is I used to double my lead verse, and then I'd have to come back in and record for my stress tracks. So I'd have another track here, which would be my lead overdub. So I'd say it again, and then below that I would record my stress tracks, which you've seen in my other tutorials. I would actually just record only this portion where I say
Ripping on my what's up?
So I arm this track for recording. This is what I used to do. Arm this track for recording, listen, press record,
Hopping out my whip
and I'm gripping on my So I'd come in on that part and I would record that. But now I just record mini passes using layer recording, and I come in and I just slide these over and I remove that portion. I keep my lead vocal in the center and I pan these to the left and the right. Let's see, my ad libs down here. They're basically callbacks to what I'm saying.
Now you know what's up. Yeah, you can look
Now there's no compression, no EQ or reverb on this.
up. Yeah, you better shut up. Like Michael Jackson said, you know who's bad. Who's bad? Who's bad? We bad. We bad. I bet you gonna bite, but you can't top that. And that you wanna fight, you can leave with all that.
All right, so if you've been sticking with me this long, I congratulate you for sitting through all this. Some of you probably didn't, because this is nothing new to you, this stuff. But if you did, you're learning some ideas about how I do stuff. So let's just keep rambling on here. So there's no compression, no effects. So on to my other ones, which I'm not really going to go into. I'll just talk about them. Once I'm done with that session, done recording, I created a new session called Bouncing. That's where I started panning and bouncing down some of the tracks to make them more manageable. And then I created one called Panned Ready, which means that everything's panned. I'm ready to start adding my plugins. Once I start adding my plugins, I call it my pre-mix session. And then during that, when I was doing that, there was another one called Hook Done, because I was done adding effects to my hook. And then I have a harmonized one where I created my fake harmonies. And then I have one called Ready for Laptop, which is where this is ready. I've done mixing. All right, there's 2 versions here. One doesn't matter. I know that this 5 days ago one would be the one I'd use. This is where I take the session and put it on my laptop, one of my mini laptops, and I take it to various setups that I have around my house, in my car, and I use the aux input on my my stereo unit inside my car or whatever, my truck. You know, because I got a system in my car, I got a system in my truck. I think I got like 2 12-poke Momos inside the truck and 2 other 12-poke audio subwoofers, plus the Infinity sound, and I believe I got my amplifier and all that kind of stuff. So I got a big system in my car and my truck. I monitor through those. I adjust stuff. You know, I find resonant frequencies and I do my adjustments. I cover all that on my CD. And I also monitor on my big Ghetto Blaster system behind me. If you've watched some of my other videos, you know about my Ghetto Blaster that I have. You've probably seen pictures of it. And then my final club on fire, and that one is where I actually start adding stuff to my master bus for my mastering. This track, I actually had this track mastered by Balance Mastering. They had a deal going on where they do it for free, and I used it to test out their quality, and they have very good quality mastering. So they're the ones that ended up mastering the track. Now, I usually master all my stuff on my own, but if you can find a good mastering engineer that can do it for a good price, I recommend doing that because you always want to get a fresh set of ears, and a mastering engineer has their shit set up to where it will get the best translation everywhere. Now, my mixing environment does allow me to master my own stuff and have a really good... I can master all my own stuff, basically, but that's because my room's professionally, by myself, acoustically treated, okay? If your shit isn't acoustically treated, you're definitely going to want to get your stuff mastered because you're going to be trying to take your shit out to your car. It's not going to sound right. So I'm able to get a good mix that I can just throw like a limiter on my master bus, and I'll call it good. However, what I really used for my mastering chain for the track, if I was going to do it myself, you get to see that on the CD tutorial. So that's what that final club on fire is. That's when I started adding stuff on my master bus. And I have two versions because I had two different master bus versions. I had one where I put like, let's say a PSP master comp, and then one where I probably used for compression, I use parallel compression, I believe. And then also on this one, I probably had like The Glue by Cytomic. It's an awesome bus compressor, or I used it for mastering actually, to actually bring in some blend, to blend it in. And then I'll have like a limiter or maybe a saturation plugin. So I have two different versions that I wanted to use for mastering. And though I do have the balance mastering version, if I needed something, let's say for radio, I would do less compression and I'd use that for myself and I'd use that for the radio. Now, balance mastering and a lot of other mastering places, they can do free versioning for you. All right. Now, you can do a little trick. And you can say, look, I want a different version. I want a version for the radio. But you might not want to say that. You might just want to say, yeah, I don't like this one. It's a little too compressed. Can you do a little bit less compression? Can you, it's at like negative 8.5 RMS. Can you just make it negative 10? Because when you go to the radio with your song, the radio station is going to compress it even more to bring everything within the same level, to bring other songs within the same level and to be loud. So you might think that a lot more compression is going to help you out, and being overly squashed and having the highest RMS is going to help you out, but not really when you're going to radio. You're going to want to make sure that you have like a negative 10 RMS, somewhere, not too squashed, basically. So you can either ask your mastering engineer to do that for you. However, I would probably just do that myself because I know I can master my own tracks. But so there's just some insight. This has been a long video. If you've stuck with me awesomely, that's awesome. If not, oh well, I guess maybe this was too elementary for you. Let's see. Since I can make videos as long as I want, let's see what else can I go over. Now, this is a session called Hook Done. And before I even fly out my hooks, I need to make sure, since I'm using top secret effects on these actual events, which are inside here. As you can see, they've already been rendered. And let me just solo those.
Come on, let's get this party started. Oh girl, you know I like it. Hold your glasses to the sky.
All right. To save precious resources, now all that delay and compression and reverb, that's not what is on these right here. That's so top secret. What's on those is what I use to actually create the pitched sounds, such as the effects on this, and then this little,
Come on, let's get this party started.
All right, that little echo you hear there is actually from using delay sends and stuff like that. There's my top secret thickness that I use for my lead vocals and some other portions. There's my delay throw. You hear it getting delayed on just these portions. So there's a lot going on. It's all in my CD. But before you ever throw your hooks, you need to make sure, if you're doing this kind of stuff, that you create all your effects first on your hook, so that when I actually throw this hook over somewhere and I press duplicate, it actually, all those effects that are rendered, like I've showed you before, I could always restore them, but I don't want to do that because I already have everything set up the way I want it, and then I can just fly this hook where it needs to go, as you've already seen me do before. So once I'm done and I have all my effects on there, I actually fly the hook out, and it's going to have the sound that I want already. So that's what this session was called. This is called the hook done session because I was done editing my hook. This is how I want my hook to sound. Now, mine, it doesn't have all the compression and it doesn't have everything on it yet. That's done in another session. This is just to get an idea of what I want it to sound like. But then in another session, once I fly my hooks out and I start a new version, that's where I actually start doing all my compression and EQ for reals.
Oh girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited. Come on, let's get this party started.
So I know that when I fly this hook, it's going to sound just like that, the way I wanted it to sound. All my pitching stuff is done, my little top secret stuff I do. And then I'll fly my hook out and create another session. So here's a look at basically the last session I did, right before I started adding my own effects to the master bus. As you can see, there's nothing over here. You can see I'm using, like on the lead bus, where my lead vocals are going. So that's this lead track here.
Whipping up, gripping on my what's up?
You're gonna hear some cracking because I'm doing the actual tutorial in this at the same time, so it kind of fucks up my audio. But and I got a lot of effects going on, turned on in here. But this lead thickness,
hopping out my whip and I'm gripping on my what's up? What's up? Yeah, you can look, but you don't say nothing.
Of course, I wouldn't use that much in this case, but on the tutorial CD, you get to see what I'm using as the send for that. You can see I'm using the stock EQ, and then I'm also doing some removal of resonant frequencies for the lead verse, and I'm using isotope nectar only for its compressor, and I'm doing a parallel compression.
Hopping out my whip and I'm gripping on my
And I'm balancing the mix between here. I go over all that in the CD on how I'm doing that. But this is actually like the session where I start doing, this is the all Vox bus, and that's basically, I got some automation going on for, basically it controls all vocals. So right here into the part where it says this.
Come on, let's get.
So it's cracking a lot because I got a lot of effects going on. You can see I bring up the volume a little bit to bring some anticipation to that portion. So I go over all this on my CD. I have some parts that are turned down. This is where all my automation is. This is where I automate my fake harmonies on this track here. And you can hear my harmonies coming in and out on this. Except it's cracking like crazy. Let's go over here. So you'll be able to hear like a little harmony come in. And I didn't actually record harmony parts or anything. I actually faked it.
Now you know why this club's on fire. Hopping out my whip and I'm gripping on my what's up?
Now you're not seeing the other effects. I had to turn them off because it takes a lot of power. But I had the if I slide over here, I'll let you see my all Vox bus. I got the Kramer tape. All right, plug in. Going, and I also have the Pro EQ going on all the vocals. It's not showing right now because I have it turned off. All right, and then I have my de-esser, Waves de-esser, but I turned those off because it's causing cracking. Look, you get to see some more of the plugins I'm using on my other stuff. So that's just an idea. Let's go listen to some of this. Go check it out. The tutorial is pretty much done. This is just, all this stuff is covered, more in depth, more to the point. You get to see how I did everything.
Hold your glasses to the sky, yeah. Oh girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited. And when you're touching me, oh it feels. You've got me so. This pop. Come on, let's get this party started. Hold your glasses to. Don't care what you talking about. Don't dare let my name leave your mouth. If you don't believe me, better ask somebody. Security, throw 'em at the party. So crazy, oh baby. I know that you like the things that I do. That's how I know that I'll be coming home with you. I know that you.
Now, you can't hear this, but if I can hear it because I'm in stereo, you are not. This tutorial is in mono. From this single vocal, All right. I was able, because I turned into a stereo track, I have some effects going on here that makes it spread it out so it sounds wide. And it has that nice thick sound to it. And also some other little tricks I have on this track that are basically making it give it that little like robotic sound. And you get to see that on my CD also.
I know that you like the things that I do. That's how I know that I'll be coming home with you.
All right, guys. So thanks for watching. Peace out.